Hey there, everyone. I can't do it. I can't do it. I tried. Like he's always got like a rasp to his voice. But hey everybody, it's just another GI Joe show. But I'm not Mike. I'm not Tiger Force Mike. I may or oh my god, look at that, dude. I'm already messing stuff up. Just another GI Joe show. But I'm not Mike. Okay, I don't know how much of all that came through, but I forgot to mute
Speakers.
yep. All right. We got Chris in the chat. I don't want to say his full name. I don't know how cool he is with that. But hey, what's up, man? Glad you could join us. But tonight, I'm being joined with old Slick Rick. Where can people find you at, man?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram as Shattered Glass Jazz.
And Josh, you are new to this show.
I am.
Kind of a last minute addition. Where can people find you at, man? Social media like and all that.
I am on Twitter as Ensabahnour1976. That's ENSABAHNUR 1976. And also use Instagram, but it's a different handle. It's just basically jfisher.va1976. And
I was gonna say your Instagram or your Twitter name is very apocalyptic.
yeah, it is, and thank you for picking up on that. That's been pretty much the handle I've used since about the year 2000. So
nice.
I didn't know if it was okay to say, the show or what have you that I do.
I mean that should be fine. I'm gonna promote my stuff on his channel too.
Okay, so. Well then, I am also a co-host of the All Queued Up podcast, which is at allqueueduppodcast.com, and we basically binge watch and review and discuss internet exclusive shows such as things you would only find on Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, YouTube Red, that kind of thing. And that's where I am at.
Now, it's funny because I didn't know. I mean, you and I, we've been doing a show about building Gundams and such, and I didn't know you were a G.I. Joe guy until I saw you put some stuff up for sale. So
yeah, a couple of days
that's why
ago.
I decided to kind of reach out. I was like, hey, this guy can talk some G.I. Joes with me and Rick.
I have been a Joe collector since 1982 when the line first was debuted as the Real American Hero.
All right, good deal. I've been into G.I. Joe for about 2 years strong now. Yeah, but Rick has you've been into Joe's for a hot minute, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I started collecting in '82 too. I went out like the day Breaker and the Ram cycle came out. I had them both with Snake Eyes. I had those three things day one.
That's awesome.
But Mike got me back in though a few years ago. I had a pretty good collection to begin with, but now I've got like a really good collection. Not all of it. I'm on my way though. I'm trying.
Dude, honestly, like Mike is the reason I kind of got back into Joe's. I went to his show, Little Rock Comic Con, which is coming up here pretty soon. And one of his, I'd always been interested in G.I. Joe because the ones I had as a kid were the G.I. Joe Extremes, and those things were terrible. They had like, they were like kind of gimmick ridden. I want to say they were like super muscle bound dudes, but there was like no articulation there, and so anyways, I was like, well, let's see what, these modern shows are all about. And I'd been reading the IDW books, with the shared universe. So I'd, seen the movies. I like the movies and things like that. So I saw a G.I. Joe dealer at his show and I picked up several. And like, I've kind of made that my do thing now. Like whenever I go to Little Rock Comic Con, I'm like, all right, I'm going to buy some G.I. Joes. So, which is all well and good. But Rick, did you say you were on Instagram as well?
Yeah, just joined like maybe a week ago.
Okay. Yeah, I couldn't remember if you shouted it out because like I know you're used to being the exclusive Twitter guy.
Yeah, I've been on Twitter for a while, but
yeah. So I guess we'll go ahead and dive right into the news before we go with our topic of discussion. So first things kind of first here. The club sort of inadvertently, I guess, revealed the card art for Rock and Roll. And I guess this is the final deco, which is kind of sort of disappointing, for me at least. I really wish they would have gone for the concept case version. I feel like that looked closer to his like to his IDW counterpart.
Yeah.
I guess I should say. But
although he kind of has like two looks in the IDW verse too. You know, he's got a few different looks for sure.
yeah, and like honestly, man, like I'm hoping the loose, the polybagged ones. I'm hoping I can kind of hold out for a few more weeks on pre-ordering one of those because I'm totally painting one up. Like I'd feel bad painting, you know, like I've got a thing with exclusives. I do not like to alter them, paint or anything else. So that, and he really needs another one of those BFGs.
Yeah.
So, and I get, you know, they probably couldn't fit two of those things, you know, in that little small bubble. But I do plan on painting one of them up and using both of the BFGs on it. And I guess I'll have the other one wielding that little bitty gun, that little bitty baby gun. But
yeah,
anyways, looks good.
I need to pick up a few too. I agree with you. There's a few things I need to do with that.
Right. So, and now on to the good stuff, man. Figure subscription service 8.0. Rick, I'm going to let you kind of take this away because you probably, I feel like you know more about this than I do.
I know some of them. I don't know all of them, especially the ones I have. So I know they revealed the Captain Gridiron or Gridiron at the top left. And I know he's got a new helmet, and I know he's got a retooled pistol. Comes with one of the footballs. I think the original one came with like 3 or 4. But he looks good. He was on my list. If anybody watches the show on the reg, I think I mentioned twice that I wanted him. He was on my list. There are a few of these that were on my list, and he was one of the ones at the top. And you know, a lot of people watch have seen the Deke animated series, you know, that version, and a lot of people don't like it. And it is what it is. I enjoy a few of the characters on there.
Rick, you trying to church it up? We all know it's the Dick show.
Yeah. But, you know, he's a big part of that series.
I got you. So this is in number 8. That's going to be the final subscription service, correct?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a bummer. Like, I've been wanting the club to kind of do a modern Sergeant Savage to keep me from having to essentially buy, you know, 2 or 3 or 4 fairly expensive figures just to kind of customize my own and paint my own. So I was really sort of holding out for that. But what's the deal with Fast Draw here? Because I think this looks good. Like, I get what it is. I like the gun he comes with. I'm a fan of like pistols, so
yeah. I mean, I've got the original one. Basically, he's like a human rocket launcher. You know, he comes with like the original one came with 2 missiles, and he's got like the controllers in his hands. So I always thought he was, in my little head, I always pick him to like go up against Metalhead because they both are kind of like rocket launcher men. So, you know, and this guy's kind of, the figure itself is padded up. It's got like a real neat texture to it. I like him. I've heard a lot of people kind of, you know, talk smack about him, but I like Fast Draw. I don't know. I don't know about the builds. Like, I know like usually Fred and John, if they're on the show, they talk about the builds and stuff. That's not my gig. I'm more about like how fun the characters are, and you know, I play with these things like a child because I'm a man child. But I'm glad he's on the list. I recently got him. I got him about maybe a month and a half ago, the vintage one. So it's cool seeing him on here.
All right, Josh, how do you feel about these two so far?
Fast Draw was always one of my more favorite figures. The only problem I always had with him is like he had 2 missiles, and once he fired them, he was just cannon fodder. I liked Captain Gridiron as a kid. As I got older, I was like, man, he really was one of the goofiest characters they made for a while. I mean, football grenades, come on. But, I mean, it does fill a hole for a lot of collectors out there because, you know, from 82 to 87, most of the holes are filled now. I actually haven't bought anything new in a while, just because collecting interests for me have shifted a lot in the past couple of years. And the line has, you know, it's not been doing much with the exception of the in my opinion, overpriced exclusives. But to see these two characters in particular and some of the others on this list getting some love in the subscription service is really cool.
Yeah,
I hear you.
It looks like Fast Travel does close out the 82 through 87 releases, so everybody has been made in those first 5 waves then.
Which is pretty cool. That's kind of a big feat, you know?
Yeah, it really is.
Who's this one right here in the red?
That's a
so
Red
that's
Laser.
one of the, from Action Force in the UK.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that's something that the figure subscription service has done. I think in every wave they've put at least one Action Force character in.
One Action Force and one Ninja Force character too, which is something that, you know, I appreciate.
Yeah, it is cool. I like that they put it's a variety. So, you know, which is something that the club has done for this and Transformers. You know, they always did that. My only problem is I need him to be like, you know, if they're going to put him in there, like they need to like offer some of those figures somewhere else too, like a 3-pack or something. Because, you know, I need at least 3 of them. Some people need 100. I'm not that guy. I only need like 3, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like 3 has always been a good troop number.
Yeah.
Not something like, you know, 9 bats. But
I'll wait. I'm confession. I have built platoons of full platoons of 64 blue shirts, poppers, CGs. Yeah, I got out of control there for a while.
That's a lot. I bet that was super impressive, you know, like after everything's said and done.
Honestly, it looked awesome on a shelf, yeah. It's just, you know, and at the time, you know, I was living alone. So when my wife first came to my apartment and she looks and she sees like shelves of just platoons of Cobras, because I always army built Cobras. Because as a kid, it's like my mom and me and my brother, we only had one figure of whatever character. So, say for instance, the original 13 Joes, great, nice little squad there, right?
Right.
But there were only 3 Cobras, and Cobra Commander was a mail away. And she would only let us have 1 soldier and 1 officer. And we're like, but Mom, the battle's over in 2 minutes. I need more Cobras. She's like, no, you can't have more. You've already got them. So when I got older, it was like, okay, eBay is a thing. People are selling troop lots of 5 and 6. And, you know, I was buying like 4, 5, 6 figures in $10, $15 lots back then.
Jesus. It has changed drastically because
it has.
If you want a vintage trooper like blue shirt now, a vintage one with no breaks, no cracks, really nice, 45 to 80, depending on the quality of it.
Golly.
That's for one. Now you know if you at JoeCon you're going to get a little bit cheaper than that. But as far as if you're talking eBay, man, that game has changed so much.
Yeah, significantly, which is a big reason why I stopped buying a lot. Of course, you know, I didn't need to buy more troops anymore. But after the last movie, eBay prices and secondary market prices of Joe's went through the roof.
Yeah, a lot. Think about it too. Like now that YouTube is such a prevalent thing, everybody's showing their collection and stuff. Now that you've been able to like see other people's collections, I mean, some of these people have 200 of those figures. So think about it. You know, on eBay right now, there's probably 50 of those vintage troops, maybe less. But I bet only 10 of them are like pristine. So if you're looking for one with the symbol intact and not a knockoff, now you can go the knockoff route too. But anyway, I guess, you know, back to the red laser. I feel like I need 3 of those, so I got to figure out a way to make that happen.
I do kind of want to skip ahead here because, you know, being the newbie that I am, most of these I have no idea what they are. Like second row, third fella, he looks cool. But honestly, like, man, I'm excited for Bushido here. I really like the Ninja Force designs. I custom made a snake. That was one of probably my first G.I. Joe custom. I think was a Ninja Force Snake Eyes. And, you know, I got them to go with that Ninja Force box set the club put out with Scarlet. There's a few I need to backtrack. Like I need to get Shebang and Nunchuck. And I'm trying to think of the others.
You got Slice and Dice. You got all that stuff.
Well, I probably won't pick up Slice and Dice if I'm being honest. And then there's like the Dollar General Storm Shadow that I'll have to get.
A bunch of cool stuff.
Yeah, Slice and Dice are just a little bit out of my personal price range, but I feel like Nunchuck is boring enough, and I just have to find Chibang. I'm guessing I'm saying that right. Whenever it comes up for sale, you know, again, because it was part of a box set, if I remember right. So the Bushido is really cool. I'm bummed that the club didn't make the Ninja Force Snake Eyes, and who knows, it could be the 13th. I doubt it. I honestly I feel like you would want that to be, you know, which I don't know. Like I don't know the Joe fan base as well as you guys might, but I know like that would suck me in as a good Snake Eyes.
I doubt it would happen though because there's only been about 68 or 69 versions of Snake Eyes released.
that's still not enough.
Well, here's the thing. All but 4 of them have been released since the year 2000. Somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
So
still not enough.
Well, it depends on who you ask.
I'm a Snake Eyes fan. I love that idea. So I give me all the Snake Eyes.
Now I like the idea of the current incarnation of Snake Eyes.
If the club and it works with the right folks and that ends up being the 13th figure for 8, I will be like bravo club.
Yeah.
If it's Dawn, then I would be so on board with that.
Yeah. And it would make sense too because they did do Billy not too long ago. So you know they can pull for war comic figures.
I guess the question is like how far ahead were they working with that 8? You know, like I don't know how far ahead they were working on these. But
yeah. And something else, like I don't know, man. Like I'm happy because I don't feel like Bushido will be too expensive. Because all chances are, you know, Mike sometimes he'll buy a couple of sets or whatever. So and that's how I got my dojo was I just bought it off of Mike, you know, at cost. So I'm hoping Bushido is the same way for me. I'd love to have just the squad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who is this gal right here at the very end?
That's Munitia.
Munitia?
She's a comic book.
She first popped up in the Devil's Due comics, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. Wasn't she part of like that Death Squad or something like that? They had like a code name. It's been a while since I read it.
Are you talking about the Coil?
Yeah, I can't remember. I read like 30 books a month. And that was so long ago.
That's intense.
That's something I wish they'd always had finished. Was the Coil figures.
Yeah.
But let's pull it up because it's been a while. She originally showed up in the direct-to-consumer line back in 2006.
Isn't it like
she was known as the Plague. The Plague, that's what it was, the Plague and Devil's Due.
Okay.
Yeah,
And what's
Commander's team.
the
That's
bottom row?
Overkill.
The third guy? Who's that? Because that looks.
That's Overkill.
Oh, you don't say.
Mm-hmm.
He looks good. He looks cool as hell. Like, and like that's my deal. Like,
that version of Overkill is cool as hell.
Yeah, and I'm a fiction driven sort of dude, anyways. So like seeing that, like that's something that I feel like would help me break that mold of kind of being like going only at like, because like my deal is like just give me Ninja Force, just give me all of Ninja Force. So like I'm fine after that ends. Like I have what I feel is the core modern the core cast in modern format, you know, and I got kind of like my favorite main Cobra characters and stuff like that.
See, out of all of those figures there, the one that excites me the most is Clutch.
Which one's Clutch?
Top left, or top right.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's cool that they're going back and doing that, because that was definitely a hole in the the first few series. They hadn't done it, so it's cool that they're doing that.
Clutch was my very first Joe. Clutch and the Vamp were my very first Joes in vehicle. So that one definitely hits the nostalgic spot for me.
He's such like a comic. He's in the comic. I mean, he was in the Sumbo stuff too, but in the comic, he got a lot of attention.
Yeah.
Really exposed his personality, and he was always that guy too. You know, like everybody's got a buddy, or is, or has been Clutch at some point, I feel like.
Yeah, and of course, for many, many years, the trio was Clutch, Breaker, and Rock and Roll.
Yeah.
And then, of course, issue 109 happens, and Breaker is, spoiler alert, killed. Can you spoil something from 1991?
No, I think you're good.
Or 92? Oh, okay.
I think you're good. I know, since we're skipping around, the one I am most excited about is Payload. And I've been talking about that on this show for a while. And especially once we got Hardtop, I'm like, all right, when's Payload coming? When's he coming? But you never can tell, like, when they're going to do something and when they're not going to do it. But I know, I think Mike had sent me like a text, like as soon as it went up. And the first thing he said it was up, but his second sentence was Payload's in there. And I'm like, yes. So
nice,
I'm
man.
excited.
Well, the Blizzard makes sense too, because in the last series, didn't they put out the Tundra Ranger Stalker? So wasn't he in the last in 7.0?
I think he's coming. Yeah, he'll be in the 7.0. Yeah.
Who's the spaceman looking one? Bottom row, number 2.
That's Payload.
That's Payload.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, he looks cool.
Him and Hardtop came with the Defiant shuttle.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that makes sense if they're spacemen. Okay. Yeah. I was gonna say, like, dude, like the bottom shelf, the bottom row is just visually speaking to me more. Of course, like I'm sure a lot of people are really excited for these other ones.
What about I think another cool one that I don't own, I haven't backtracked to get him, is that Lieutenant Claymore. And I think he's in like just maybe one shot in the Sunbow cartoon. Like I think he rescues Cobra Commander like in a Fang copter or something that was small. But I know that the club did him in the tanks for the memory set like years ago, maybe 2007. But he looks cool, and he's got he'll have like a removable helmet, and it's kind of badass. So I'm excited for him.
Very cool. Was there anything else you guys wanted to say about Figure Subscription Service 8?
Recoil, I always liked his character. He's the one in between Bushido and Overkill. I always liked him. He was the long range recon patrol figure from, I'm wanting to say 89. Yeah, 89. But his accessories were dumb. He actually made no sense as a long range recon patrol member with his accessories. And
weren't they like
really
blue?
honestly,
were they blue, or weren't they a weird color?
Blue. They were blue. He came with a blue M16 grenade launcher combo, a gray backpack, a green mine case of claymore mines, and then he had some weird dual pistol that was also blue. So it was just weird. And when I say dual pistol, it looks like a claw with a gun for each claw. It was odd looking, but I always liked his character, just the figure itself. I'm wondering if they will replicate the digital camo on it, or if they will just, keep to the color theme but alter the camo pattern.
Yeah. It's hard to tell. Sometimes they'll go the extra mile with certain ones, and then they'll kind of pull it back on some of the others.
Like that in the chat, this Christopher says, for some or other reason, he was really hoping for Downtown and Lightfoot. And I always loved Lightfoot as a character. And I actually have, both Downtown and Lightfoot, but I always really loved Lightfoot for some reason. I think it was just because of basically how he was in the comics, especially that one issue of Special Missions.
I like both of the figures. The toys are kind of fun. I like the Downtown one especially. His
accessories were amazing.
Yeah. He's with some of the figures, it's funny, like you get like him and like Ambush comes to mind. Like you get the figure and like there's an adventure like just right there in your hands. Like you don't even need, like there's so much stuff that they came with. And I feel like some of those figures really encompassed what the original 12-inch G.I. Joe with all of those adventure sets and all that stuff. Some of the American Hero stuff really gets that nostalgic feel of having all these accessories that you can, put your guy in an adventure. I love that. I
really hope that that G.I. Joe does make a good comeback, for the retail game. Because that's something that I really liked. Just sort of, you mentioned in the 12-inch figure line, like I know that was in the IDW, the shared universe, like that was the original, team back then. What was that in Revolutionaries? So like I'm hoping that the line kind of comes back in full, because I'd love to have all of those guys in 3 3/4 inch format. Like the club did Bullet Man for a custom class a couple of years ago. But it would just be cool, man. It would just be cool to see that in the 3 3/4 inch line, especially since there's some fiction, albeit soon ending, there to kind of support.
And that's the thing, we've been told that it's rebooting, and there's going to be another movie. But here's what we don't know: is it going to stay 3 3/4? Or is it going to move to a 6-inch scale? That's the action figure element. Like for display presence alone, would love to see Joe's in a 6-inch format. But then that to me kills a lot of appeal of the line, because a lot of the appeal of the line was the playsets, the Terradrome. The vehicles. You could really do so much. Who would have the space for a Terradrome in a 6-inch scale? Not many people.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
So playsets wouldn't be a viable option. Some of the smaller vehicles, like the Ram motorcycle, maybe the Vamp, but not a lot of vehicles would work in that scale. But I don't know if the 3 3/4 line has a huge future, sadly.
I'll be honest, man, that's something I kind of realized, just being at Walmart the other night. I was looking through, just the action figures. Like I was looking for some of the newer Infinity War Marvel Legends. Like I'm probably not going to go all in on that line. But I definitely wanted the Cap, because I'm a Captain America fan, and I collect a lot of Captain America stuff. But like I was just like, well, let me see what they got in the way of 3 3/4 inch, and like there's nothing like, for a while I was like, well, maybe Marvel and Star Wars will kind of keep that 3 3/4 inch modern articulated scale stuff alive. And
Star Wars is coming back. It's back this month, actually. Some people have already found them on the vintage cards.
Dude, I was gonna say, man,
that's the legacy line. But
the vintage collection.
Yeah,
yeah, that's just coming back.
But the Marvel 3 3/4, that's been dead for a couple of years now. They quit that several years ago.
They released they like, it used to be called Marvel Universe, but then they put it under the Legends banner. I've got a Captain America from I want to say I have some like 2017 releases, and like they are still pumping out some of those 3 3/4 inch figures, like they're doing the Marvel versus Capcom box sets. Like we saw one at Toy Fair, I think, was like Ryu versus it's not Cap, but it's like an android Cap. I don't know what the name of the Silver or Civil something. Anyways, which is interesting because like I liked Street Fighter growing up as a kid. So
Civil Servant.
Yeah, that's right. Like I'll probably be into that, just give me more 3 3/4 inch stuff. Of course it's all like right over here, but all of my GI Joes and my Marvels. Matter of fact, let me just get this because it can move. I don't know how much of that you guys can see. Okay, there we go.
There we go.
I've got I got GI Joes, I got my X-Men, I got my Captain Americas. Like I got them all. They all fit. Then I got the stuff up there, but that's a stretch for me. So, anyways, like that whole like 3 3/4 inch thing, like I love it, man. Just I like putting it all together. I think it'll be awesome having Street Fighter characters next to my GI Joes and my Marvel superheroes. So, but yeah, like I'm hoping and like you could see I didn't have any vehicles. Like I don't have the real estate or the pockets for vehicles. Because I do collect a lot of other things, mostly in robot format.
Vehicles aren't easy to come by. I mean, the figure prices, you think those went up. The vehicle prices are pretty insane these days too, especially for vintage stuff.
You got to research the hell out of it. Like when I am about to buy like a vintage vehicle, which is usually always like some kind of plan, some strategy, I usually research it at least 2 months. I never like just go out on a whim. Today I'm going to get this thing. I usually look into it. I watch a lot of auctions. I talk to people, talk to a few go-tos that I have, and then make a decision. It is not like a light thing. It's, you research it. I like to get the best one I can for the money, but I don't want to overpay for anything. So I'm always trying to figure out where the deal is and who's got good quality stuff, but they have fair prices and are good people. Once you find, I've got 2 of them. Once you find like a go-to, especially the good people thing, and usually in the Joe community, there are a lot of them. But as far as dealers, there's a few that I think have fair prices. But as far as the 3 3/4 and the 6 inch, though, I know we've talked about it a few times. It's always funny. It depends on who's on the show. This show, or I know on our Cybercast and the Galactic Gumbo show, I think all of us wanted 6 inch.
Yeah.
We would like to explore it.
I wanted to that's something I did want to add just there at the end. Like I'm in for 6 inch. Like I don't do vehicle. 3 3/4 inch is always going to be the preferred because I can get more of them on a shelf. They're cheaper. I feel like the same level of detail is there. But I mean, dude, yeah, give me a 6 inch Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes and Cobra Commander and just some of my favorites, man. I'll totally pick them up. Yeah. I don't know what they could do with a Build-A-Figure format, or if they would just go straight Black Series and just maybe load them up with some extra accessories. But
yeah, I'm down for both. I'm so like hardcore down for both. Like 3 3/4, I like the vehicles. Like I usually pattern whatever I'm doing, like with my Joe collection, around like certain vehicles that or play sets that I'm buying and I'm into, or I've wanted, or I didn't. Some of them I had as a kid, but I never had any of the big stuff as a kid. So I'm making up for that now. So but the 3 3/4 work really well with the vehicles. I do enjoy the vehicles. I would never want to see that go away. So if you're like Joe deep, don't think I'm a hater, because I'm not. I love it. But from the 6 inch line, I mean, I would like to see. There's 2 different flavors that I think would be cool. One is the stuff that they were doing with Pursuit of Cobra. transporting that into a 6-inch format with all those accessories, where it's like it's a little bit of sci-fi mixed with kind of dirty military look.
Yeah,
I'm really down with that, dude. That's one flavor, but the other flavor, I would not say no to either a comic inspired 6-inch or a Sunbow 6-inch. There's a few of them I'd like. I love a Zartan and the Dreadnoks that look like they pop right off of the of Revenge of Cobra miniseries. I'm not gonna lie, like I would eat that up. Maybe a Shipwreck, Snake Eyes, and Timber, same thing. Anyway, yeah, I'm down for both.
Yeah, I would love to see
Snake Eyes. So you got a customer in me.
I would love to see the original 13 in 6-inch format.
Oh yeah,
I mean, that would be great.
Do you think that's something, you know, like I know we kind of touched on it a little bit on a Galactic Gumbo before, Rick, but you know, if HasLabs did decide to incorporate that as one of their things, like, do you think it would just be the whole wave of 13 figures?
I like Josh's idea. Sounds like a really good. I mean, I know Josh on the other Josh, G1 Hextron, he was talking about that too. So many Joshes. He was talking about that too. Like, would it be like a few of them as a project? But man, the original 13, I bet that has legs, because if you think about it, they went from 12-inch to 3 3/4. But yeah, they went from 12-inch to the 3 3/4. But this is like this in between thing. But if it's as good as, like, you know, they do with, I feel like they do a good job with their Marvel Legends for the price point.
Oh my god.
I feel like they do, and some of the sculpts are like, not all of them, but almost all of the sculpts have been really good the last few years. So I just thinking about like the original 13 Joes in Marvel Legends style with all those accessories and stuff that you could pose. I don't know, man.
Like that's why I was thinking, like, if HasLabs did decide to tackle 6-inch, like, I don't think they would do. They seem to want to do big money, like, you know, adult collector. Yeah. Like, we don't care about our credit card bills, just give us more toys. Like that's the demographic.
That's
dude, you're not alone. But that's why I think they would do, like you saying, the original 13. Like, I bet that would be just its own pre-order, just or backing project or whatever. As much as I'd love for them to start, you know, to kind of go back and do maybe things that didn't get released, or, you know, be they like repaints or even molds that never got past the resin stage. Like, give me some Transtech Transformers, you know, or, you know, anything, Omega Supreme from Animated, whatever.
Yeah.
But, you know, saying that, like, well, you know, for the 13 original Joes in a 6-inch format, let's just say, you know, since the exclusivity nature of it, at $30 a figure, you know, so I mean that's $400. Might as well say, would you do it?
Would I? Yeah, I'll do it right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Send me the link.
link me to it, bro. But before we kind of dig into the comics, because I know we've kind of edged into comics here and there. There's one more thing I forgot to kind of show off as far as news. But we were treated to this wonderful event this past Easter, also April Fool's Day. Get that right. So Pete's Robot Convention, Knight and Shining Inc. They had kind of like thrown out a lot of really cool like designs of like all the various Hasbro properties using, you know, pre-existing toys and tooling and things like that. And it, you know, it turned out it was an April Fool's joke, but it wasn't, because the following day they announced that all those toy mock-ups will be for real toys, and that'll be the grand raffle prize at Pete's Robot Convention this year. And like for right now, I believe anyone can win the Mariness. If you see the ML Pony and the G.I. Joe logo, you know, they kind of tease this as sort of like the alter egos toy line, very similar, I feel, to the Revolution box set sort of thing that Hasbro did for San Diego Comic-Con. We had like Soundwave's Littlest Pet Shop or Cassette Shop or whatever, which, you know, a lot of people seem to have liked this a lot. And I believe this is Marvel Color Soundwave. But
yeah, that was a Marvel Comics color Soundwave. Yeah.
yeah, this right here was like this is what hooked me. Like seeing the I believe they called it a Shining Wolf Totem, and you get the little Visionaries guy as the Titan Master, Headmaster, or whatever. Ah man, I would scarf that up. I would love it. And then this I think is really cool. So you have correct me if I'm butchering the pronunciation, but Globulus.
Yeah.
I nailed it.
Yeah, using like basically the snake part from Beast Wars Neo Kurata with looks like a newly molded piece in here. You got Lieutenant Hawk, and he's got like a big Combiner Wars hand foot gun hand thing right there, and Nemesis Enforcer, which
Stop.
that's
That's
so awesome.
that's Lieutenant Falcon.
I said Lieutenant Falcon, right? No, I said Hawk, didn't I?
You said Hawk's a general. Come on, man.
I'm talking fast. When
I first saw it, I was like, "Wow, that's Hawk," and then I was like, "No, wait, look at the outfit. That's Falcon." Okay.
Yeah.
Either way, it's a bird of prey, right?
Yeah, exactly. But Globulus here can kind of interact with Nemesis Enforcer, and I don't know, and with them there may be another picture, but of course you have Jim. This looks like it's the Marissa Fairborn
Yeah.
mold that the club put out. So
What is that accessory there? Is that like a helmet rocket pack thing for the torso?
it looks like it. I'm trying to make it. Oh, granted, this is all going to be part of the big raffle item for, at Pete's Robot Convention this June, and I mean I'll be there, so I'll definitely take pics. But very interesting to see what all this will look like, kind of like on display. And like here's the box, the Alter Egos box, which was kind of what they were, pitching it to be. But like, yeah, so you can see here on the artwork, like there was a little clip. I don't know if there's maybe some more. Let's see. There's a Soundwave. There's the cassettes, which adorable. More of the cassettes.
My daughter would love those. Because
I was gonna say,
she's in the Limitless pet shop, so
I bet Josh G1 Hexatron, I bet he would be all over this Ravage. But he would probably, because he likes cutesy shit too, so he'd be all into it. Yeah, Shining Wolf Totem with Feral. God, dude, that looks so awesome. But this right here, there was like the little clip on the side or whatever. So whenever you set them on it, you could clip the snake tail on the back.
Wrap it around the body.
Yeah, man,
Okay.
that's too cool.
That's smart.
So that being kind of the real big G.I. Joe portion of it. And yeah, Lieutenant Falcon here with the furious Falcon fist. But man, like this looks really, yeah, let's see. With and Synergy
Oh,
mask,
that's
so
supposed to be Synergy. Oh, and that's like mask. That's
dude, they rolled it all up.
That's like a mask tie-in. Oh shit.
Yeah. So like last year, man, like Pete's Robot Convention was like, I feel like they showed up Hasbro on like, hey, here's, this is what Transformers fans really want. And like this year, I feel like they're showing up this is what people who just want all, like, if this would have been the HasCon set, I would have bought it. Like, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Because I love that Revolution set, but if all of this would have been the HasCon stuff, man, this would have been awesome. It would have been a use of pre-existing tooling. It would have been a big, crazy-ass box set. But like, I feel like it's all cool. You know what I mean? Like, it's all awesome stuff. So, I don't know, man. Hopefully they take notes. But what started as an April Fool's joke, we'll be able to get. And here's the mock-up box. So, I hope I win, and I hope nobody else wins.
Well, there can only be one.
Exactly. I didn't get to win the makeshift BotCon box set from last year, so this year's gonna be my year. But so comics.
Like a Dallas Cowboys fan.
Funny enough, other Josh, he's
super fan.
Yeah, oh yeah, to say the least. So, real quick before we do get into the comic chat, Christopher said, build a figure snake armor for like, the 6-inch style. Yeah,
absolutely. And whoever the big guy is that Duke had to fight in the first miniseries, I can't think of his name. They had him.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about in the arena of sport.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's another one that would be a good build-a-figure. So there's your first 2 series right there.
I don't know.
I
was always more of the comic over cartoon. We never had the cartoon where I lived as a kid.
Really?
Hell, I only saw the 2 miniseries on Saturday mornings when they first debuted, but we never had the cartoon on a weekly basis here where I lived. So all of my G.I. Joe lore as a kid was from the comic. It wasn't until later when our video store started putting out like video cassettes of like 2 episodes. We would go and rent them and then go and get the next 2 that they would put out. So video cassettes, VHS, those are a thing, kids.
Yeah.
Dude, VHS tapes always piss me off with cartoons because it was like you said, it was only 2 episodes. So I would go to the, like it's the weekend. My mom says you can get 1 game and you can get 1 movie. And I was like, all right, cool. I remember my go-to was it was either the Simpsons or the South Park game for Super Nintendo. Like as a younger child, I was probably 7 or 8 years old.
Yeah, those snowballs.
I kind of snuck that past my mom because I was like, look, Mom, cartoons. But with the movie, like it was always like I'd try to find some kind of cartoon, and I'm just like, all right, so this is all I have for the weekend, and then I gotta wait till next weekend before I can get something else. And it was always like 2 episodes, and by the time I'd watched them both 10 times, Friday night wasn't even over, so I was just like, man, screw this. Like, it made me so mad. But kind of speaking of comics, though, as we all know, the current kind of IDW shared universe is coming to an end this September. Looks like they are they're rolling everything out. Like I think starting in May. I know for sure the Transformers books will turn into bi-weeklies. So they'll both round out at issue 25 each. Then 6 issues of the Unicron series. I'm assuming, I don't know, Rick, what's the deal with Mask or not Mask with Rom and the Micronauts? Have they kind of said where that was going to end yet, or
they may have, but I'm this person that I go to my comic shop and pick up my books. Like I get Previews magazine, I do scan over it, but I never keep up with like what's happening 3 months down the road. But I know that I think I have the Rom and Micronauts book, maybe 1, 2. I feel like I picked up number 3, but I could be wrong. But I'm behind on my reading. I read my Joe books and my Transformers Lost Light the day I get them. But there are a few titles like Rom that I have sitting in my pile.
Yeah, well, I mean, my local comic shop, they kind of screwed the pooch. I didn't get my Rom and Micronauts book, I guess, whenever they were ordering stuff, because like, dude, I want to say whenever I told them I wanted those books, like I told them to order like 6 or 7 other books with it. So they probably got lost, and that's fine. I mean, it saves me money, especially with Avengers being a weekly series now. But like I was just kind of curious. I was kind of curious, like how, like where they were gonna kind of shut that off, because it's all kind of it's all intertwined. Granted, Citizen's run that ended, and I heard I read somewhere, like so I don't know if it's true, if it's a he tell me, or if it's just, hey, pay attention to what I have to say, it's nonsense. But apparently, like IDW tried bringing Citizen back on as a ghostwriter under like a different name, and Hasbro found out about it, and supposedly they were ready to walk and blah 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 blah. You know how people are with their internet dramas and whatnot. But I don't know, like I don't know how much truth there is to that. Like, especially like that dude single-handedly killed the shared universe G.I. Joe, which is a bummer. Like, it wasn't really that good to begin with.
Yeah,
but
it definitely had an impact. I mean, it definitely had an impact. It did not ruin Revolutionaries for me, though. I will put that out there.
God,
like, I enjoyed it, and I'm able to, There are going to be people that come into the brand and out of the brand as far as creatives, behind the scenes folks. Some people you're going to like, some people you're not. I don't really care about their personal lives and what they do. I only want the finished product. And I know we kind of crossed that line in the 2000s, when we kind of got to know like Aaron Archer, and we kind of got to know Eric Sabanel. We got to know a little bit about the behind the scenes. And I think the more that, I get that. I like that. It's cool that you can have like a communication between the fans and what we want and what people are producing. But at the same time, I enjoy fiction. This stuff is an escape for me. I'll do my Twitter. I'll do a little Instagram. That's fine. But really, at the end of the day, I just don't care about that stuff. I don't know who, behind the scenes, I don't know who, does what with their personal lives. And usually we don't. But here's an instance where someone kind of crossed that line between their work and their personal life and social media. And it ended up having an awful impact on my goddamn fiction. And it happened to be G.I. Joe, which, just like you said, really couldn't take a hit, right? I mean, the fan base, as far as the comics and stuff, they really can't afford to take many hits.
And the way I understand it, even though Hama's book is still kind of going strong, I hear, like, I've been hearing that dude's getting ready to retire soon. So, you couldn't really pull him over, but kind of like going back to what you said about Revolutionaries. I mean, that I want to say Barber was working on that, but like, dude, Barber has people do not give Barber credit where really and truly it's due. Especially in the Transformers community. Like, I know a lot of guys were Robertson, Lost Light, More Than Meets the Eye. Like, that's the best. That's the best. That's the best. Like, sit down, take your fanboy hat off. And really look at the stuff that Barber's been doing, man. He, for someone to be stretched that thin and still give such good, compelling stories. I wish they would have just pulled, since obviously they weren't bringing Revolutionaries back after First Strike. I wish they would have pulled Barber, and been like, hey, why don't you do G.I. Joe after this Scarlet Strike Force #3? Why don't you take it and run with it from there? Because I feel like the support would have picked back up. Because honestly, it just came down to a lot of people didn't want to buy the books because they didn't want to support Citizen. But that's that's what happens when you're a shitty dude. There are
a lot of fringe fans who like social media, who are on social media, and this happens both with the toys and the comics, no matter what you're talking about.
Yeah,
a lot of times the fringe people make a big buzz, too, and they add to the numbers. It's kind of a numbers game, right? When you start talking smack. And anyway, at this point, it doesn't matter. The Hama book, though, has been on fire. I've loved it. It's that Detective Comics and Lost Light are my 3 books where when I buy them, I come straight home and I'm like, I push my family out of the way and I'm like, I just need 15 minutes. Let me read my book. Let me speed read this thing, but just give me quiet for 15 minutes. Those are the 3 titles, man. G.I. Joe's been hot.
Dude, with comic titles like Lost Light used to be my I'm going to the comic book store. I don't care if I have to walk there. And if it's a hell of a drive, so it's already going to be a hell of a walk. And anyone who knows me, I'm a big boy. I don't like walking. But Lost Light used to be that, but then the Optimus Prime book got really good. So now it's both of those books and Tales of Suspense. I've really liked Tales of Suspense. These last 4 issues. Issue 5 I think should be out this month. But those are the books that I push everybody out of the way and I light the candles and draw up a warm bath. And and like that's where dude, I love to just enjoy those books. And it's a shame that I couldn't do that with Citizens G.I. Joe. You know, I picked it up, starting with the first issue. Like, okay, you know, he kind of had me on the whole pitch, you know, the greatest action comic, blah blah blah, whatever. So I was like, cool, I can get behind this. Or the Crown Jewel was the first real pitch for him. So cool, you know, I read the first like 2 or 3 issues, and I was like, all right, this is kind of dulling me out. The artwork I wasn't really a fan of, but like artwork's something I can forgive. If story's good enough, I can get behind artwork. You know, no matter how it is, you know, what style or whatever. But then that ran for 9 issues, and I was like, well, this was underwhelming. And then we got First Strike, and then we got the 3 issues of Scarlet Strike Force. And I feel like Scarlet Strike Force may have kind of been a picking up point, and you know, I would have liked to have seen at least that first story arc complete itself. But like, the dude just couldn't write good stories. Like at least for G.I. Joe. Like I heard he did Street Fighter versus G.I. Joe, and I didn't read that. Maybe it was awesome, maybe it wasn't. But like just the 12 books that I have that he was the writer for, it wasn't a compelling Joe story for me.
Yeah, I gave him a shot. I'm over it, and I'm enjoying the current book with Dawn and Sean and all of the Snake Eyes stuff that's been going on. Especially, I love that. You know, spoiler here. I guess it's been, how long has it been since 250 came out? Can we talk 250? Can we talk the 240s and 250?
I don't know. Like I don't pick up the Hama books because like.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
I mean, I think it's been really interesting. Like, I guess if you're a diehard person, maybe it was a lot to swallow, but I've really enjoyed like kind of not knowing what's coming next, especially since like the 213, 214, 215, the Death of Snake Eyes stuff. Like, I wasn't really sure what to expect. But those issues, especially the funeral issue, I know I've told you.
I picked it up, dude. Like I picked it up on your recommendation, and like you're right, dude. Like reading that, chills, goosebumps.
It's like, beautiful, right? Like beautiful.
I mean, dude, I was like sitting in my room crying.
Yeah, my wife's not into. My wife reads Walking Dead. She doesn't really read comics, but she reads the hardcovers for Walking Dead, and we both enjoy IDW's Lock and Key, which if you haven't read that, I recommend it. We both love it, but she's not a comic reader per se. I sat her down. I'm like, this is a big deal issue. You know, she saw the Death of Snake Eyes, and I'm like, just kind of turn the pages. Yeah, I know you're not like a big comic reader. Just, you know, turn the pages, look at it, and see what you think. Like she looked at like 5 or 6, and I kind of started her on a few pages, and she knows who Timber is. It's the Snake Eyes. She knows the very basics. She started looking at it. She started crying 6 pages in. That's how well done the layouts were on that book.
For a book with no words. A book with no words. And there's no letters in that book.
Dude, that team is just, they're putting out great, just great work. But also, it's I feel like such a piece of art too, especially that one. But you know, since then, there's been like all kinds of things going on. Like I said, it's kind of been unpredictable. There have been a few issues that are very, military centric, which he does better than anybody. No one writes that stuff like he does. And you get like, you know, some of your rock and roll and your cover girl, and you get some of these characters coming in that aren't in every issue. But really, the meat and potatoes, you know, especially the 240s and 250, have been dealing with the Don Marino character, and you get a little bit of Sean Collins, who's, you know, also Snake. And they're kind of like, there's a bunch of stuff going on.
There's like a lot of X-23, Dokken, Logan, James Hudson stuff going on here with Snake Eyes.
Yeah, and basically like around the, you know, 213 through 215, I think it was around those numbers. So super spoilers here. He sacrificed himself fighting a resurrected Serpentor. 2 grenades in his hand, tackled Serpentor, and they, you know, fell off the cliff. Everybody went boom. About the same time, this character, Sean Collins, it's pretty deep. I can't go that deep on the show, but go back and read it or check Wikipedia or something. But this character, Sean Collins, was in a giant mech, and he had severe burns. So about the same time that Snake Eyes goes over, fighting Serpentor, this other character, who had actually, before he joined the military,
I was gonna say we found out he was in the Arashikage clan, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think 155, where the Joe book, the Marvel run ended, this character Sean had actually asked Snake Eyes for advice, should he join the military. So they do have a history. There's a history to it and a pickup point. So anyway, this character
that was Wade Collins's kid from the original run, correct?
Yeah, Crimson Guardsman. Yeah. So there's all kinds of deep ties, and the story goes way back. It's not like something that they didn't have. There's no ties to the background of this character. I think in another kind of timeline, this character ended up being Kamakura.
In the Devil's Due, he was actually Kamakura.
Yeah. But in this one, he ended up joining the military. Yes, the Arashikage factor in as well. So about the time Snake Eyes bites it, Sean comes down. He's severely burned, and Snake Eyes' mask is on the ground, and he picks it up. He puts it on, and that's kind of where he sort of becomes Snake Eyes. And then all of a sudden, this other character. I'm kind of jumping around, but
I was gonna say, I want to say it didn't happen until he was in his hospital bed, but go ahead.
Yeah. So he's sort of Snake Eyes, and then this other character, Don Marino, pops up, who is a star athlete and catches Cobra. He's Cobra officer. Catches Cobra Commander's attention. He brings her up as a personal bodyguard. The Baroness has some scenes where they're her and Zorana are kind of pushing her through the trenches, so to speak, kind of trying to teach her. And at some point, Baroness has her and the Dr. Venom's brainwave scanner, which has the memories of the original Snake Eyes, a copy of the memories from back when he was in there, so that her mind now has Snake Eyes memories. I know I'm telling this awfully, but hopefully that makes sense. So his memories are in her head. So now we're dealing with this young girl.
So now we're probably about to see a really awesome lesbian Scarlet Dawn scene. It's
like I said, it's been unpredictable. I really like it. It's for a comic book. It's been really. I love it, but I'm sure if you're deep G.I. Joe, original G.I. Joe, I bet it's been a tough pill to swallow for some people.
I mean, I don't have a problem with it. My whole thing, I've not read any of the new stuff, but I am aware of what has happened.
Yeah.
I just think, just let the character go at this point. That's my thing, It's okay, Snake Eyes was awesome, but at one point the book became Snake Eyes and G.I. Joe, and it was more about Snake Eyes. I get it.
I feel like that's
character.
Fair. Yeah,
I get it. He's an awesome character, but at the same time, let him go. Let him go. Let him be gone. We don't need Snake Eyes anymore.
I was gonna say at that point though, They weren't confident that G.I. Joe could, sell the book on its own, so they were like, well, Snake Eyes could, so that was the deal. I feel like Snake Eyes will always be the more popular aspect of G.I. Joe, especially for filthy casuals such as myself. Exactly.
He is
even then, you realize that everybody loves Wolverine. It's not just a, filthy casual, there's more cool mutants than Wolverine. It's no, everybody digs him. Everybody digs Snake Eyes.
Yeah,
he's he's the money maker.
And in the most recent issue, the 250 and 249, they actually give Firefly some actual time. He's the central villain, which was for me amazing because I like Zartan and Firefly. They're my two favorite Cobras. So it was cool getting 2 books with those guys with him in it. So.
Well, I feel like that probably wraps it up. I don't know, what's your guys' kind of take on on the shared universe coming to an end? Do you think? I mean, you know, we know it's not the end of, you know, at least Transformers for IDW. So that, you know, that must mean that it probably isn't the end of GI Joe for them either. But do you think that we'll see this kind of universe building attempt out the gate, especially to kind of coincide with their plans for like 2019 and 2020, as far as like, you know, because they're it seems like Hasbro's wanting to reboot on all fronts, movie, comics, everything. So I mean, do you think that this will kind of play more into what they're trying to do with that live action stuff, or do you think it'll still be its own thing? Do you think we'll still get the kind of compelling stories that we have been getting, just, you know, retold?
Go ahead, Rick.
I was going to say I've been reading most 99% of the stuff that they've been cranking out, but I feel like right now I can't predict anything. I feel like it's kind of wait and see. I really have no idea where it's going to go. I don't even know, like, I don't know how well, or if they were even measuring results for the shared universe. I mean, other than the negative stuff that we talked about and some of the positive stuff, I don't know if they measured it or how well it did. I haven't seen any numbers. So, and I haven't heard anyone say, well, this was a absolute failure. And I haven't heard anyone say, well, this was an absolute success, we're going to do more.
Right.
It's funny because, you know, obviously, like when you're talking news, usually the negative stuff is what pops up first, which, you know, we know all about that. We know a decent amount about it, but I haven't heard a whole lot on where we're going next.
Right.
You know,
and it seems like no one, like, it seems like they're keeping it hush hush, and, you know, for good reason. You'd want to focus on, you know, this kind of end, and it is all going to have a proper end, which is very fortunate. We did not get that luxury with Dreamwave stuff. It just kind of poof, it went away. So like it's cool that we're, you know, like I said, we're being treated to a proper ending, and not just, well, it ran into the ground, so we canceled it. Yeah, like, and that's you know, that's something we don't get a courtesy a whole lot of, you know what I mean? So I don't know, man. Like I feel like I'm gonna be disappointed as someone who has been really enjoying these stories, you know, this last 10 years, decades worth of stories with, you know, it's mostly on the Transformer side. You know, like, I don't want to go back to just a vanilla 2-dimensional, you know, these are the good guys, these are the bad guys, and this is how, you know, they're gonna fight forever again. And then, like, you know, it's got to be more than that. It's got to be more than just, you know, G.I. Joe versus Cobra. It's got to be more than just Autobots versus Decepticons. Like, there has to be some world building, some humanity there, I guess, like some character. There's got to be character.
yeah,
And that's really what we got a lot of in these past years. And I hope it's something like that they know that people enjoy. So going forward, even if they do go back to the stupid, you know, oh, well, these two factions have to be warring, it just has to be that way. I hope they do kind of keep in mind, like, okay, a lot of us enjoyed the character building. A lot of us enjoyed the shenanigans, you know, the quest. So,
yeah.
As for it being a shared universe, I've not read really any of the stuff that they've done since they announced it was a shared universe. But I know my initial gut reaction was, oh, I hate that idea. Even though that they had G.I. Joe and Transformers crossover a couple of times in the 80s and 90s, and then they had standalone crossovers of them. The whole idea of the Micronauts, Mask, ROM, G.I. Joe, Transformers, all of that intertwined in one shared universe, my initial gut reaction was, I hate this. And when I heard it was ending, I was sitting there, I was thinking, man, I hate that for the people who are into it, even though I never checked it out personally. I hate that for the people that are fans of it. But when they reboot, I have no idea. I'm afraid to even speculate as to if it would be, pardon me, had to clear my throat. I don't have any idea if they would launch a shared universe or not, but I think if they did do a total reboot, I think a shared universe would work better than trying to force merge all these existing properties after all this continuity had been built up. I think that was what put a sour taste in my mouth about the whole idea.
And that was
these things have been their own thing for so long, and now you're just making them come together. I was like, kind of shoehorning everything, and it just
that was the biggest
was hurdle for them way to go about it.
You know, whenever they did that, it's like there's been a lot of kind of backwriting, so to speak. There's been a lot of stories that were just like, okay, so you know, they had to do a flashback to like All Hail Megatron whenever that happened to tell you know this story,
as they say.
Not necessarily retconning, but just like, well, you know, certainly G.I. Joe would have answered the call, right? Certainly they would have been there. And of course, you know, there were some little Easter eggs in there, like, you know, you had General Hawk in that story, you know, or who we all kind of assume to be General Hawk. I mean, he was a general. He had the name Hawk on his badge, but where they had to like kind of go back and explain like maybe what G.I. Joe was sort of doing at that point in time. And there's Tiger Force Mike popping in.
Checking up on you boys.
Hey Mike, I uploaded some of my home videos to your YouTube channel. They should be going live.
As long as it's no nudity, we're good.
No, it's those home movies.
Oh, I don't want them home movies. So I see. I had to chime in real quick. I look in the background on Rick, and I see that damn green Power Ranger helmet.
Yeah. Him and the fat. It's a weird combination in the room.
So, no, I just thought just chime in. I don't think I can stay on. I got like 9% left on my phone, but I knew y'all had asked I knew Dakota asked how the show was. It ended up being pretty good. Lines were long. For once, there was actually quite a bit of G.I. Joe here.
Really?
I found a little bit of G.I. Joe. There was a dealer here that was at my show last year. He probably has about 30 or 40 25th anniversary carded figures. And then another dealer from Arkansas. He was kind of overpriced. He had some vehicle sets with figures, but every one of them he wanted $60 a piece on them. That was just, I mean, maybe $30 I consider, but 60 was way out of my price range. So Rick knows I got your autographed picture for you, Rick.
I'm excited.
Well, did you get the picture I sent? And she wasn't looking. I snapped the picture.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, you'll have to watch the panel. I recorded the panel. She dropped a couple of curse words in there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she's a cool little girl. She's all right.
Awesome. Yeah, I want to watch it. I can't wait for you guys to upload all that stuff.
Yeah, the only one I got is going to be the Power Ranger one because my phone got too low in volume and didn't have enough time, which I won't have to chime out of here. I just wanted to check on you boys, make sure you're doing us justice.
Everything's fine, I promise.
Yeah, I'll be sure to be changing my password as soon as you're done. What? I gotta go to the scalp train.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, man, like that was, I feel like that was the biggest hurdle they had to cross was, you know, kind of going back and explaining like where G.I. Joe was during this. And, you know, then we got the ROM and the Transformers, ROM versus the Transformers miniseries, which was good. Like, I felt like that was good, but, you know, and it took place like 200 years prior to the current events. And the way they wrote in, you know, like who was it? Delta was the Ultra Magnus at that point.
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah, so spoilers, blah blah blah. But you know, and then like, you know, but like Visionaries, they came too late to the game. Like, it's almost over, and here they are. And
that's true. Yeah.
And I feel like editorial wanted the Visionaries thing to fail because, like, you know, the choices they made with, you know, the Road to Unicron. There's going to be a lot of blood and dead people. So
it's too. You know, I think the deep G.I. Joe fans, again, I think it might be too much. it's too much. Like there are a lot of people who enjoy like just the, you know, like the first 50 comics of the Marvel run, right? Or like especially the first like 24 issues, like the original 13. Like the villains are all blue shirts with like 4 characters, like Baroness Major Blood, Destro, Cobra Commander, Storm Shadow. That's about it. But like there's some people that just enjoy that. And when you take Matt, I mean, it wasn't like they just tried to merge one thing. They merged like 80 characters that most of us know something about and said, here you go. It was real quick. And I think it might have
there was no subtle build-up.
And the thing is, a lot of us enjoy the things on their own merits, you know? So, like, whether it's Mask, I mean, Mask's pretty good by itself. I enjoy it. ROM is pretty interesting. I did think ROM in the Transformers universe, I did think that worked really well. I think that miniseries was well written, and the artwork was superb.
I thought it was weird making the Micronauts, like, you know, descendants of Micronus Prime. Like that was that
stretch.
I don't know. That felt super cheap. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I just don't know if they needed to do it. I like most of those brands on their own, and they were strong then, and with the proper writer and artist or filmmaker, they can be strong again.
Yeah. Anyways, that's all I had. If anybody else wanted to kind of add anything, it's almost taco time here at the Primal Sabbath household.
Taco time.
Yeah, good talk. I'm excited about the FSS. I just like the. I mean, on the as far as 8 goes, when they dropped that and I saw the list, I was real happy. So just the bookend, that's where we started. I'm super excited about that 8.0.
I'm happy for Bushido and a couple of those other ones. They look very interesting. I think if I can, hopefully I'll be able to find them fairly cheap. I'm sure, you know, they'll do a Joe Club kind of clearance sale whenever. I'm sure next year at some point, like they did for the Transformers. So hopefully, there'll be some pretty cool archive items showing up. Speaking of archive items, man, I actually got a cryo freeze Sergeant Savage from their archive stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah, I just saw it popped up. I was like, sure, I'll buy it. You know, I like the character. I like the character in Revolutionaries, and he's very like Steve Rogers, Man Out of Time. So you know, all of that appeals to me. But
that's cool.
But yeah. So, well, that I believe does it for this episode of Just Another G.I. Joe Show. So, Rick, where can people find you, man?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram as Shattered Glass Jazz.
Cool. Josh?
Twitter at nsabanur1976. Instagram jfisher.va1976. And then every other Friday on All Queued Up Podcast.
Cool. You can find me everywhere at Primal Sabbath. I do quite a bit. I'm on the Cybercast with Rick here. Josh and we do Off the Runner, which is definitely more adult themed. Keep your kids out of the room. I dabble in some Beast Wars, as some folks may know. So you can catch me at Stasis Lock over there. And also do a small comics podcast called Information Creep. So I've had my hands full of like podcasts this week. It's definitely not getting easier. So until then, thanks for watching and staying, thanks for hanging in there with me this week. I know this is more of a G.I. Joe thing and I'm G.I. Joe dumb, but fortunately I had some G.I. Joe guys here to help keep me in line. So until then, Mike will be back in 2 more weeks. See you guys later.